All right. Hey guys. So today is the fun topic of body image, body relationship, something which everyone loves talking about, right? So I think it's going to be a long video because, well, I have a long story with my body and my eating habits and my exercise habits. But it's mostly going to be about eating and how I feel about my body and what diets I've tried, what has worked, what hasn't worked, what I'm doing right now, what my goals are right now, which are quite exciting for me. Body positivity, like body, loving my body, like all these topics are going to be discussed today. So all the fun, easy stuff. And yeah, so let's just get started. So as many of you probably did as well, I gained a lot of weight during Christmas, about 4 kilos or so. And I was really surprised. I was like, wow, that's a lot. And over a 2-3 week period, that's quite a lot of weight to gain. And in my experience, it takes quite a while for me to lose that much weight. And so I was quite frustrated, and it just made me realize, like, I've tried many diets, many goals, many systems, and multiple times in my life I've reached a body weight which I'm very happy with, which I'm like, wow, this is amazing, this is awesome. And then I'll take pictures and I'll send them to my girlfriends or my friends, or I'll post it on Facebook and I'll feel great. And then like a couple months later, something bad will happen in my life, and it doesn't even have to be anything major. And then I go back to my old habits, and which leads me to being a little bit chubby, basically. I'm not physically unhealthy, thankfully. I'm not anywhere close to obese. Even a doctor would probably say that I am very healthy and my body weight is healthy. So there's that. But of course, I have much higher standards for myself than just what doctors say. And well, we'll go into that today. But yeah, I've struggled with addiction to food for a long time. And I looked up the word addiction, and it's compulsive behavior that leads to undesirable outcomes. And when I work, I eat like every hour, or I used to, at least. Right now I'm not. But I'll tell you about what I'm doing now later if you stick around. But like every hour I would go downstairs and just eat some nuts or some fruit. Not even anything unhealthy, but like, why am I doing that? Because I just I'm a little bit tired, or I'm a little bit stressed, or I'm a little bit anxious. And instead of thinking about those feelings and what's behind them, what's leading to them, how I could resolve them, just eat. And it's just like, wow, I hate myself for doing that. I really don't like that part of myself. It reminds me of when I smoked weed, and also like 4 or 5 times a day I would smoke, and just basically numbing any feelings and making life sort of vague and just still and predictable and boring, really, in a lot of ways. So that's my addiction to food. I struggled with binging, and that's I feel more vulnerable sharing about that, because I'm really disgusted with myself a lot of times when I binge. And that's the whole point of the binges that I have done in the past. Now it's been a month since I binged. Yeah, a whole month. But like when I binge, it's 2,000 to 3,000 calories worth of high sugar food, very salty food, and a lot of it, and also sometimes a beer. And yeah, the point is not to have a good time. The point is to numb whatever it is that I could be feeling. I don't eat it consciously most of the time. 95+% of the time that I've ever binged, I do it while watching a series or while watching a movie, because I don't want to have to think about the fact that I'm eating all this food. And yeah, and then I feel really, really bloated, and it's just really hard to deal with that, like the next day, and to face the fact that I binged. But okay, what's next? I find it hard to imagine myself being fat. So this I also feel very vulnerable sharing, because I know a lot of people feel sensitive about this. So if you are someone who is overweight and you're very sensitive about people judging you, please don't watch this next part, because I have a lot of judgment about this, and this might make you feel uncomfortable. The only reason I judge other people for being fat is because I judge myself for being overweight. And I judge myself, not that I am overweight, but I would judge the hell out of myself if I was overweight. If I was obese, or if I was even just, if the doctor said, oh, you know, you've got too much fat on your stomach, you need to lose some weight, like I would just be like, wow, that is, well, especially being obese is a big problem. Being a little bit fat, like a little bit overweight, it's not the end of the world, you know. It's not like it's going to kill me to be just a tiny bit fat. When I mean a tiny bit fat, I mean like, let's say 5 to 10% more than, you know, the maximum limit of a healthy body weight, where the doctor is like, yeah, you know, you got to be careful because you don't want to get any more weight than this. That would be not so bad. And if someone is just a little bit chubby, I don't actually judge people for being chubby. I mean, a little bit I do, because I'm like, you know, obviously they're probably not disciplined. They probably have some negative habits relating to eating food or to exercising, because why else would they be chubby? A very, very tiny percentage of the population have some genetic disorder which prevents them from being able to lose weight, you know, as well as easily as normal people. So they might be like hyper disciplined and they just can't do it, or it's just they would have to employ some almost impossible habits to lose that weight. But that's just such a tiny percentage of people. So the default for me is to judge people who are overweight as being, yeah, just not having, what's the word, optimized their eating and exercise habits. And I know that because I am that person. If I'm overweight, if I'm chubby, it's because I don't eat properly and I don't exercise enough, or a combination of both. So I often find myself projecting that judgment onto other people. And like I say, any judgment I have about anyone else, it's all about me. It's all in my head. It's all to do with what I think. It's really not relevant in a lot of ways to anyone. That being said, I do feel, and this is, again, it's a personal opinion, but it's such a waste of human potential to be overweight, to be really fat, because it's a huge health issue. You know, if you're really overweight, that leads to, so this is what really bothers me, is right now in the world, more people are dying from overeating issues, health issues related to overeating, than they are from starvation. Let that sink in for a second. More people are dying because they're eating too much than people are dying from starvation. Not to mention that plenty of people, millions and millions of people are dying from starvation. I think it's like 20,000 people a day are dying. Let me just look that up, because this is a shocking statistic which the news never tell you about. How many people die from starvation every day? This is intense. 25,000 people die from starvation every day. I mean, listen to this. You know, this is, but at the same time, more people are dying from eating too much, being too fat. So it's just like, it blows my mind how disconnected the world is from each other in some ways. But obviously there's a lot of psychological reasons for why people eat too much, and it's not like you can expect them to just be like, oh, they're starving on the other side of the world, so I'm not going to eat, an easy life. I know it doesn't work like that. But it does, I do feel really deeply disappointed with the human species, myself included, for the way for how greedy we are, and how little we think about people on the other side of the planet, and how little we think about how our decisions affect the whole world and other people. All right, but it makes me feel sick. I wrote that down as well, might as well say it. So fortunately, I work out a lot, which stops me from gaining weight. I'm very fit physically. I do a lot of fitness classes, go to the gym, I can go running. So yeah, that's great. But it doesn't solve my addiction problem. I'm still addicted to food, and I still have the binging, and I still feel bad about it. I don't want to feel bad. And just because it doesn't show on my body, it doesn't mean that I'm not suffering from it. So it doesn't make up for it. But eating mostly healthy food does. So I have studied a lot about nutrition, and I know a lot about the macro composition of the foods that I eat, and approximately how much protein I get, and which foods have more protein. Like, I know which nuts have the highest protein, all this stuff. So I know enough to be able to eat a relatively healthy diet, and that definitely helps a lot. Now, strong male physique, for me, when I see a guy who's ripped abs, like big muscles, like, you know, just ripped body, and that means like very low fat, I'm impressed, because for me, if I were to achieve that and maintain that, that would be a symbol that would epitomize the conquering of my habits, which my bad habits, let's just be honest, let's just call it what it is. For me, it's a bad habit to eat too much and to not exercise enough and to not think about what I'm eating, and it makes me lose the love for future Frank. You know, I'm like, I feel like I'm not loving my future self. I feel like I'm not in touch with that love, that inherent love which I do have for my future self, and I'm just neglecting him. And I feel sad about that, because future me is me as well, and we're all the same. So I want to connect more with him. All right. So I've tried many diets: vegan, low carb, vegan, low carb, carnivore. That was not an experiment that I'm proud of, but I did try that about a year ago for a couple of weeks. Yeah, I feel pretty disgusted about eating meat, animal products, because Yuval Noah Harari says that in a few hundred years, he's the author of *Sapiens*, a very famous, one of the most famous nonfiction books there exists right now. And he says that in a few hundred years, humans will look back and they will say, you know what, the biggest crime in all of human history is probably how we treated animals. And just, wow, that resonated so much with me. I'm like, I don't want to be part of that human history. So I do my very best to eat very few animal products. Anyway, it's not really about going vegan, although I eat 2 or 3 animal products a month, something like that, maybe once a week. But that's not really about the relationship with my body so much. That's more a moral issue. I don't do it for health reasons. So what I learned is that my diet doesn't make any difference. The key for me is to observe my thoughts, to meditate, to set goals for my vision. So right now, the circumference of my stomach is 96.5 centimeters, and I want to make it 82 centimeters. I figure that would be an ideal look for me. And I've looked at my stomach when I bring it down to that 82 centimeters, and that looks like slim and sexy and muscular. I can still have my abs showing there, and so that feels like a good thing to target for. But you know, I might get to 84 and just be like, oh, I look fucking hot, and then that's fine. I don't want to sort of get unhealthily low body fat. You know, I want to have something which is sustainable. And yeah, also another thing is to commit to sustainable processes of eating. So it's not just the goal which is important for me. This is just leads me in a direction, but really the question is, what do I do on a daily basis, which I can do for years and years, which will enable me to maintain the body of my dreams? And that's what I've been working on for a long time. And I have some secret sauce today, which I think, some new secret sauce, which I think will be the final important thing which helps me to keep this weight off for good. So more on that in a bit. What else do I have here? Mindfulness. So regularly during the day, if I feel stressed or anxious or sad or annoyed, which often leads me to wanting to eat, then I go and sit on, I have a table there. I sit down, I put my hands on the table, and I take a deep breath. I just tune in with my body, and what often happens is I yawn. I'm just like, oh, I'm just tired. You know, I need a break. And I do that multiple times a day, actually, quite often. And it really helps me to face my feelings and take it easy and relax. And yeah, really helpful. So now I'm going to tell you about why I think what I'm doing right now, my goals, and why I think these goals and these processes more specifically are going to lead me to losing this fat and then keeping it off for good. All right, so here's the exciting part, the hope. The hope is a beautiful thing, you know. It's like, it might not work, but I have hope, and that's the most important thing. And I'm learning, and I'm trying something new, and like, what else can I do, right? I'm doing my best, and I feel great about that. So let's talk about this now. Right, so what I'm doing now is I'm committing to 2 1-hour eating periods during the day. That means I have no snacking. There's 2, well, as I said, it's usually between 12 and 1 and between 5 and 6, although the exact time doesn't really matter. And the other thing I do is I plan those meals in advance. So in the morning, I think, okay, this is what I'm going to eat for lunch or for dinner. And, it's not the end of the world if I eat a few more things, but as long as it's during that hour. I don't have any strict rules actually for what I eat. I can eat pancakes, I can eat whatever I want. But when I plan my food this way, and when I do a lot of meditation and all the other things I'm going to mention in a second, then it does lead me to being much less likely to wanting to indulge in high sugar food, high carb food. Okay, another thing, I allow myself a protein shake during the non-eating period. So that's something I learned about in The Dirty Genes. It's this book. He talks about 7 or 8 types of genes that people have, and I identified myself as having one of them. And he says, yeah, those kind of people, a very good recommendation for them is to have protein more regularly during the day, because that prevents that, what's the word? That nullifies the food cravings, and that people like me have a high craving for carbs, and that people like me, well, I mean, it seems like everyone loves carbs, but maybe I'm especially vulnerable in that regard. So yeah, protein, and that's just 100 calories in one protein shake. It's with water, so it's virtually no calories at all, and that really helps a lot. It tastes good, and it makes me feel a bit full, and all the protein is good for my workouts, for building muscle, so I feel really comfortable and confident doing that. So it's a very simple rule. I don't have any strict things that I can't eat, which I really love, because I'm a rebel at heart, and for me to say I have to eat this and nothing else is really hard. But if I just say, yeah, I want to eat this, and I'm setting that intention, and I eat something else, okay, it is what it is. And so that's what I'm trying now. And I have actually tried a version of this before. I think I did 2 meals a day as well before, but I also did 1 meal a day, OMAD, for a while. OMAD was very hard for me. That was challenging. And I've also tried fasting, actually, straight up fasting, like 3-4 days. I think I managed 3.5 days of water fasting, and that was really, really hard. But yeah, I might try some more water fasting or some juice fasting later, because I've heard there's a lot of health benefits. But right now, I don't really care about health benefits. I care about being really slim and loving my body, loving the way my body looks, and conquering my food addiction. That's the most important thing. So, if I fast 1 day a week for health reasons, that's a really unrelated issue and not important for me right now. Okay, so another thing which I think is going to help immensely is, drum roll, these videos. All right, so I'm straight up posting videos to the public about how I feel about my body, and it's hard, and it makes me face the truth that years and years and years I've struggled with food addiction, and that I don't really like my body. I mean, I love my body, let's be honest. I love my body, but I judge myself for being chubby, and I feel like, who am I to tell people every day, hey, here's some great advice for how you can change your life, when there's something quite important about my life which I haven't been able to change for so long. And I'm just like, that doesn't make sense. So that's why I feel really aligned in my mission now to not only lose this weight, because I've done that multiple times in the past, I've gotten a 6-pack a couple times, but to keep the weight off. So part of this journey is going to be talking about what I've learned, what has worked for me, in the hope that it inspires or educates other people, but mostly for inspirational purposes and for motivational purposes, because I'm not a doctor, and I'm not going to educate people about what they can eat. I'm just going to tell you what's worked for me. And I have a strong focus on psychology. I love the brain and habits and behaviors and emotions and all of these things which don't have strict definitions but nevertheless rule our world, basically, and rule how we think and what we do and what we say. So I love the psychological aspect of it, and that's most of it, let's be honest. Tony Robbins said in one of his videos today, he said, I help people with their business, but the fact of the matter is that 80% of the reason that people aren't achieving success in their business is due to psychological factors. And it's exactly the same with my diet. Like, I know enough about dieting and nutrition and exercise to have an amazing body, but it's psychological, it's my habits. So yeah, I'm going to another thing, a fun thing I'm doing. You probably would be horrified by this, or at least some people I know who are very sensitive about showing their body. But I'm going to post a picture of my chubby stomach and my man titties. These ones over here. I'm going to change the video later so you can see, well, my man titties. But right now, yeah, I'm committing to posting a video every day, and that's what I'm doing this month. And I'm not too worried about the quality, although there's a lot of sunlight now, which is a great thing. Right, so my eating period is going to start very shortly now, actually right after this video. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah, I'm going to post a picture of me chubby, and that's hard because I don't feel comfortable about how I look right now. It certainly is not inspiring to me, but I do think it's inspiring. I do feel inspired by posting it because it's power. It's raw power for me to be vulnerable in front of all of my friends, in front of anyone who sees it. My Facebook posts are now open to the public. Like, here I am, you know, like what more power is there than me talking about my insecurities and my vulnerabilities to the whole world? Like, I feel so powerful doing that. And I honestly believe that this demonstration of vulnerability, of regular, you know, talking about the issue, not just about the emotions and feelings, but also about, you know, the habits and the behaviors and the thought processes that I have, will, and using that in the context of inspiring others to change their body. You know, these are vlogs, it's really just about me. But on Facebook now, I'm posting like these 2 to 3 minute videos, and there I'm really going to talk much more about, you know, what I've learned on that day, that specific day, about my body and how it relates to what I'm reading or what I've read in the past. And so I feel really, really inspired to make this change and maintain this change and build the body of my dreams. So I'm going to post this chubby pic, and that's going to be the before picture without the after, which is something that people don't usually do. People usually just say, oh yeah, you know, here's my before and after. I'm like, okay, well, that's easy to post. It makes you look good. What about just posting the before picture and then just being like, you know what, here's the raw truth. I don't really like my body. I want to change my body. Or I love my body, but my future self doesn't love this body, you know, which is some real brutal, raw truth there from that I feel, certainly. My future self does not love me having this body. My future self is like, well, okay, you know, you are who you are because of everything that's happened to you. But, you know, 60-year-old Frank is like, you know, dude, you've had like a whole lifetime to figure out this whole body thing. Like, really, you couldn't manage it until now? So future self, future Frank would kind of like me to figure this out. Okay. Okay, I think that's enough body talk for one day. I'm really curious what you guys think about this and what resonates with you, and, you know, what body struggles you've had. And yeah, but I always like to finish off with a tip and inspiration, and I really hope that my act of being vulnerable in front of you will be the inspiration that you need to realize that being vulnerable about your body, it doesn't even have to be to other people. The first step is to be towards yourself. Like, how does your 10-year future self feel about you having that body still? You know, like, just think about that. But that being said, please, please, please don't think that you need to change to be loved, or that your body has to be different so that you can be loved. We all deserve love, and you can love yourself. You don't even need anyone to love you. Like, I love myself and I love my body. I do sometimes hate it, but fundamentally, I just love my body, and I love how my body is likely to change in the future as well. It's a bit of a mix, and I realize this is becoming less inspirational and more me trying to figure out how I can, my narrative when it comes to love, because I do believe everything is powered by love. But yeah, all right, I don't want to go on another tangent. Guys, it's been a pleasure, and I guess I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.